Hello, today we're doing Pythagoras theorem, but this time we're going to try some challenge questions. So if you're up for an optional challenge, feel free to watch this video. So the following questions are meant to be a challenge and are meant to stretch your understanding of Pythagoras theorem. So if you want to do it, pause the video, give the questions a go, and solutions will come soon. Okay, here's our first question. So a square sits on the top of a circle. Each corner of the square touches the edge of the circle. If the radius of the circle is 8 centimeters, what is the length of the square to 2 decimal places? So in this question here, you are told that you have a circle, there's a square sitting on top of the circle, and the edges of that square touch the circle, and the radius is 8 centimeters. That's all the information you're given. If you feel you can do it, give it a go. Okay, the first thing we need to realize is if this is 8 centimeters, that means the whole diameter of the circle is going to be 16 centimeters. Now that's important because I can draw that 16 right here. I've still cut the circle in half with a diameter, but I've lined it up with the square to make a nice little triangle here. So by adding that diameter of 16, it now becomes a hypotenuse of 16 for this triangle here. So I can add a little square there. Now, with a square, both sides are the same. So we've got two sides that we don't know, but they're exactly the same. So we need to represent that using Pythagoras theorem. So in our formula, we're going to replace the sides in. X squared plus x squared equals 16 squared. Now, 16 times 16 is 256. That's okay. But what's x squared plus x squared? Well, if we just use some algebra, we'll get 2x squared. Now to get rid of that 2 in front of the x squared, we're going to have to divide both sides by 2. That'll get rid of that 2. This will leave you with x squared equals 128. So you can now square root to get 11.31 centimeters. So this was a bit of a trickier question. It involved you understanding that a radius can be multiplied by 2 to get a diameter, and then aligning that with the square, and also involved 2 missing sides, which is a little bit different. So a bit of a tricky question, but hopefully you understand the logic behind it. Alright, here's another question for you. Find the perimeter of the following shape to 2 decimal places. So we've been given a rectangle, and we can see that a right angle triangle has already been made for us. We know the hypotenuse is 10 meters, but there's 2 unknown sides. There's an x and there's a 2x. So we've got 2 unknown sides, and they're not the same length this time. So it's a little bit trickier than the last example, but if you're feeling brave, give it a go. Okay, let's start working this out. So, a squared plus b squared is c squared. We know the rule, but when we substitute this in, we've got to be super careful. A squared is the whole side times by itself. So we need to times all of 2x by itself. Now, 2 times 2 is 4, and x times x is x squared. So that 2x squared becomes 4x squared when it's fully multiplied out. Now, 4x squared plus x squared are like terms. So 4x squared plus x squared will make 5x squared. So now we're left with 5x squared equals 100. To get rid of the 5, we'll divide both sides by 5, cross it off. So x squared equals 20. So x is 4.4721. Now to find the perimeter of this shape, we need to remember that a rectangle, opposite sides are the same. So if this is 2x here, that means that this side here must also be 2x. And if this is x here, it means that this side of the rectangle must also be x. Now, perimeter is when you add all the sides together. So if you add x and 2x, x and 2x, you'll end up with 6x. So 6 times x will be our perimeter. Now we know what x is. So 6 times 4.4721 is 26.83 meters to 2 decimal places. So the perimeter of the shape is 26.83 meters. So it's a bit of a yucky question because there was 2 unknown sides and they were both different. But just remember, when you're using the formula, you must square the whole side. So I do suggest using brackets if you have any sort of unknown with a number in front, okay? So use brackets to not make any mistakes when multiplying this out. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. But today was just a challenge, just to stretch your knowledge. Hope you had fun. See you next time.